Okay. I clicked go live, right? Yeah, we're live. Okay. Sweet.
So no, you don't buy property and run the company.
All right, everybody's ready. So there's, if you have slides and you haven't uploaded them yet, there's a assignment. If you go to Canvas, Home, right at the top right-hand side, there's a button that says Jump to Today. It'll bring you down, and I think it's called Update February 8th or Group February 8th, something like that. Anybody gonna need this whiteboard for their presentation? Perfect. Okay. Group 10. Where's group 10? You think you're group 10? Are those your slides? Well, there are here.
Are they purple?
Yeah, but why aren't they up there? That's my question. Okay, let's try again. Screen sharing. Hey, I did not do anything except hit my head against the wall twice and turn around and hover over the mouse pad. So group 10, since you were the lowest number group who submitted before the first time I looked, your slides are up here. So can you go first?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, so I think the easiest way to do this is if you treat me like the guy in the projection room, and you'll say next slide when you want to move to the next slide.
Okay.
And here's a microphone. All right, group 10, med manufacturing.
All right, so we have named our group MedMech Manufacturing, and we do basically that, medical manufacturing. Those are our group members' names yet again. Again, just a little overview. We're going to be serving the medical industry, focused on a lot of implants, but also very precise, small tools and pieces needed. Next slide. I'm sorry, I'm like moving it on mine, so I forgot. Next slide again.
I anticipated.
Next slide again.
Oh, again.
Required licensing. So durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies. You need that accreditation in order to, produce these parts. A DME supplier license and permit. You need a wholesaler of medical products licenses. You must register under the Drug, Device, and Cosmetic Act. And additional licensing required varies by the state. Next slide. Standards to adhere to. So these are multiple ISO standards. I'm not going to read every single one, but a lot of them are just based on focusing on the quality, sustainability as well, making sure that it is safe, which is really important. As well, there's an additional one, which is pretty cool, about cybersecurity, which makes a lot of sense because medical stuff is very personal information, and under HIPAA, it should not be shared. Next slide. Continued. This is a statement right from the FDA website because it was not worth rewording. So obviously you have to register your company as well as listing of these medical devices, pre-market notification, an investigational device exemption for clinical studies, quality, again, assuring that, labeling requirements, and medical device reporting. Next slide again.
Can't press the arrow keys.
Certifications. What? Jackie's going to talk now.
Okay. So for certifications, this seemed to be the most important one, which the ISO 13485. Basically, it ensures that all medical devices meet compliance laws and customer needs. It helps with quality control, traceability, process validation, and risk management. Also, having the certification helps companies get recognized as more trustworthy providers. So it's really common for companies to have this. And I believe the ISO 9001 is the quality management certification. So they kind of combined it with the ISO. It's a long number, that one. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 certification. Next slide.
Okay, so equipment. These are the machine tools that we were looking at. So the first one would be the Formlabs Form 3BL printer. We were looking at that. That was gonna be 26,000 for two. The materials we were looking at were the Biomed clear resin for $1,400 for 4 of those, and the list goes on with more materials as well as the CNC milling machine, the 3D metal printer, and the titanium, which we'd be using. And then at the end, the next slide, sorry. And then at the end, so these are just the basic office supplies that we're going to use. So the office space would be $4,700 a month, plus desks, monitors, desktops, chairs, and just a basic office printer. And
Okay.
That's the end.
All right. Questions from the class? That was it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Were there any certifications you needed? Were there any certifications you needed specifically for the state?
Oh yeah, which state are you guys going to be in?
We're located in New Hampshire.
Located in New Hampshire? They're living free, not dying. There's probably nothing up there.
Other states have more.
But it would be kind of cool. I think. So there's obviously going to be costs associated with getting all these licenses and certifications and stuff like that. And so there are consulting companies that will help your company get certified. Find one of those and make a polite inquiry to one of the engineers or somebody that works at one of these companies and say, hey, we're working on a school project. And we just want a budget cost. What would it cost for a new company that's entering this area to get these certifications that we need? So just reach out to them and say, hey, we're working on this class project. And I think you should add that to your startup costs. But yeah, it was a great update. Let me hit refresh over here, see who's next. Hey, how about group 12? Is group 12 here? You must be here, right? Group 12. All right. You were custom steering wheels in Southern California, right? See, I remember.
God, we're next.
All right. Group 12, give us a quick update on your progress and your motion so far.
All right, so we picked this building in Oakland,
You guys keep
California,
done?
which is a little bit farther from Fremont, but it's less expensive. Next slide.
I need to recruit somebody to do next slide so I can walk around. It's more fun to walk around. All right.
And then we found these used machines to buy, a lathe and a mill. That's it.
Okay. Rest of the class, what else do you think they need to do? Go ahead. So, all right. So I think he's right. You're going to need tooling. And so for your lathe and your mill, you're going to need end mills, tool holders, tool blocks, things like that. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. You're probably going to need an air compressor because both of those require air for the tool changer to work. Anything else? Okay, so there will definitely be some cost of moving the machines in and getting them set up. And so there's rigging costs for secured to the floor correctly. Depending on the precision of the operations you're doing, sometimes you can just pick it up with a forklift, put it down and turn the leveling feet with a little level on the table and you're good enough. Sometimes you have to use laser leveling things and bolt it and epoxy it down to the floor to make it more stable, less prone to vibrations. So there would be, with all of these, bringing the machines in, there's going to be rigging costs. You guys got used machines, right? Where are the machines located relative to where your physical plant is? Ish.
I don't know.
Let's assume they're in Texas. There's a lot of used machines for sale in Texas. So go from Texas to Southern California. Two pretty small machines. They both fit on one truck. I don't know, $6,000. So those are some great thoughts to add to what you're doing. So tooling, and then did you expand your product line at all? Or still just steering wheels?
Still steering wheels.
Okay, so you're going to want to think about what materials are you going to need to machine those steering wheels, and what are the individual processes. So you're going to use a lathe to put some texture on it, I guess. But how do you? So your lathe isn't going to make something a steering wheel size. So you're going to make like a tube and bend it. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're going to need some sort of a bending machine. So you should look up how that stuff happens. But anything else anybody sees that they missed? What do you got?
Steering wheels aren't generally finished in metal, so you need equipment for finishing with leather or other comfort materials.
Or good marketing.
Or good marketing.
I could see it in a custom vehicle. I could see yeah. I could see it. All right. What's next? Who's next? Group. Hit refresh again. Group 8. Where are you guys? We're still on that side of the room. Okay. Group 8. Hey, I need a volunteer from your table. Somebody to do next slide for them.
You said not to press the arrow keys?
Yeah, use the buttons up here instead.
Okay.
These don't do next slides. Group 8, you guys are, it was this table, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. I think you
You can come with
go.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go.
All right, group 8, go.
Okay. Oh.
We did next slide already. You were too slow.
Can we
You
go back a
if
slide?
you want.
Okay. Okay, actually, yeah, this works. Okay, so first for jobs. So I'm Biana, operations.
I'm Arjun, engineering.
Jaren is logistics. He's not here.
And then
I'm Clayton. I'm QA.
And I'm Oliver. I'm marketing and finance.
okay. So then for overview and location, we kind of changed our location plan from Worcester. Instead, we plan on locating ourselves near Beaumont, California. This is because they have 637 businesses which focus on injection molding. And that way we could charge a premium and we wouldn't have to charge in excess of shipping for same day delivery because it would be close. They also have a fairly low tax rate for California, so that's nice. And then we found a spot we wanted to lease. And so the building has a manufacturing subtype, which is really good for us because we're a manufacturing company, and has a very low rental rate. And then we want to start at the minimum rental amount of 9,500 SF, and then expand as we gain more customers and use that space. And so it'll cost us between 74,100 and 91,200 per year.
For our industry, we want small scale, short run injection mold manufacturing. Our customer base will be made of small to medium scale injection molding facilities located nearby. There's 6 just near Beaumont. And by situating ourselves near these businesses, we can save a lot on shipping. We talk about that a little bit later. And outreach and securing contracts with these companies will be easier if we are nearby and don't have to fly across the country, and allow for shorter fulfillment times. For finances, for machining and tooling, we have about $150,000 allocated. A Fusion 360 license is going to be $1,600 every 3 years. For office supplies, we're hoping to get desks and chairs free or cheap from Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. For stock, P20 steel is going to be $10,000. Company vehicles, hopefully a used 4x4 4-wheel drive truck will be enough to help us, deliver our parts, and ratchet straps so they don't fly away. And again, about shipping costs, because we're so close to these companies, we can hopefully save a lot of money that way, allowing us to charge more or charge at a premium, or if need be, reduce our costs and still make a profit. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the tools that we've decided we needed, we're starting with 2 used Haas Super Mini Mills, 1 ST10 lathe, and a Mitutoyo CMM. These machines will allow us to get ourselves situated in manufacturing small-scale injection molds. We've estimated tooling to be around $10,000 and fixturing and other miscellaneous components and things needed for the machines to be around $10,000. We plan on purchasing all of our machines used with new tooling and any potential non-standard fixturing that we need. And if clients require a specialized part that we don't have the ability to currently produce, we will charge a premium to purchase more tools or specialized parts.
Is that it?
Okay, so for shipping and packaging, because we're going to be doing some of, or at least a decent amount of the shipping ourselves or very locally, the molds don't have to be as well packaged, saving us a bit of cost. They can be protected with newspaper and other paper-like packing materials, with packing peanuts surrounding them in order to cushion them during their journey. And yeah, we can do local delivery packaging, so just loading them in the back of the aforementioned 4x4 truck and driving them around locally in California.
Obviously, we want to keep looking forward as our company progress. We want to expand our machining capabilities over time to include 4th and 5th axis machining, which allows us to take on more complex and lucrative contracts, which other companies in the area aren't able to take on. We also want to expand and create more plants around other injection molding hubs in the US, distinguishing ourselves as a company, sort of like the McMaster-Carr of injection molds. We're high quality, we're fast, but we're really expensive. We also want to expand our capabilities to include more options in the future, potentially, such as laser cutting and water jet cutting, focusing on that aspect of being really fast and really precise. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in the class, what do you think they missed? So they talked about tools, tooling, even an estimate on the initial order of stock material. What do you think? Go ahead.
Any licensing, certification, standards?
Yeah, any kind of standards or anything you need to comply with. So depending on who your customers are, a lot of them will expect you to be ISO 9000 certified or compliant, things like that. I think building tools for injection molding is pretty wide open. Who's your biggest competition going to be? And why is that? What's that? Yeah. So you might be able to buy the finished mold from China for less than you can buy the stock material for the mold here.
Absolutely. Well, we can get it in less than
So you need to differentiate on being able to turn them quickly, things like that. Also, for really short run injection molding, you don't need to use tool steel for the molds. You can use low carbon steel. You can even use aluminum for molds for really low volume stuff. All right. Who's next? Is there somebody who wants to go next?
I mean, I'm standing.
All right. What group are you?
Group 4.
Maybe group 4. All right. You're on. Group 4.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hey, do you want the microphone?
Yeah, that would probably be useful. He doesn't need it. He can project. I mean, the folks at home need to know. I never know where to speak into this. Hello, Sharks.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so we only have a few things to talk about today because from what I remember, there weren't a ton of things to go over. But as we've seen everyone else talk, we seriously need tooling. That's one thing that I already know we already have to add. But one thing that I do want to clarify, well, not me specifically, but our local expert, Ben, we want to tell you specifically what we're making. Because it's not, just generally guns.
All right. So because of manufacturing can be iffy in Idaho, we decided that we're going to manufacture the regulated parts because there's not many of them and they're relatively cheaper because they're a very small grouping of parts. We will then buy up the other parts of the gun, so the unregulated parts, and then manufacture the firearms themselves because we will have the licenses to do so, and it's very expensive if you don't have the licenses to do so.
Okay. So in order to do that, from what we could tell from a decent amount of research, I wouldn't say, a whole term's worth, but, a decent amount, we know that we need a drill press, a welder, a milling machine, a lathe, and an industrial air compressor. That comes up to about $75,000. That's a very, very rough estimate, but that's essentially what we need. Next slide. Actually, hold on.
Can we go back real quick? So we have one of each of the tools so far in our estimate, because as a new manufacturer for firearms and, under our own brand, it's kind of hard to establish yourself in a well-established, business already. So we're kind of planning on starting a little bit small, which is why we have one of each. However, we are prepared for expansion. We have a pretty big air compressor, so when we have funds, we can buy new machines and, hook them up to that. So we are ready for expansion, but just not. Yeah, we're starting off small and then going to grow. Then go back to that.
The air compressor is huge. Okay, now we can probably do the next slide, I think. As for legal stuff, you guys can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but basically the first thing that we need is a Type 7 manufacturer federal firearms license, an FFL, and we get that from the ATF. And from what I can tell, it's kind of like getting a driver's license from the DMV, where like the ATF is the DMV and the FFL is that's what we need to manufacture these parts. And then in order to actually engage in the business, we need a Class 3 SOT. And that basically just lets us manufacture and sell NFA firearms. And there is a decently long list on what an NFA firearm is. From what Ben told me, that's meant to be that way so that the government can kind of just do whatever they want with that definition. It's not like a set definition. It's more of a list of 8 things that guns may or may not have. But yeah, that's basically. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not it. That's not it. I was told that I should say we don't have office supplies because at Wigtastic Firearms, we don't believe in sitting around. We get the job done. Thank you.
For anyone concerned about the customer requirement in Idaho, apparently you don't need a license. As long as you're 18, you can get a firearm for yourself. You're under 18 or minor, you need a permission from your for your guardian or your parent and the company.
You can get guns very quickly in Idaho.
So,
I love where you got straight to the point.
so what did they miss?
No, he got to the point. He was like,
I mean, all right. So you called yourself on office supplies and tooling and stuff. So we won't pick on you for that because you realize that. But what did they miss? Yeah.
Having stood in front of the Super Mill for like 8 hours straight, you're gonna want some chairs.
You're gonna want a chair, yeah. Okay. But I loved your group though. I meant to compliment you on your free furniture. So when we started our first machine shop business, we stole furniture, we scrounged furniture, picked it up on the side of the street. The only piece of furniture that we purchased was a sofa bed from IKEA because I knew that I wasn't going to be going home. I'd be sleeping there at night. But anyway, yeah, but I splurged. It was $99 or $199. What did they miss though? I think they missed something big. And maybe they knew it and just didn't think it was part of today's update.
Like specific milestone state. Like
Yeah, I think they got that covered. I think they can sell weapons there if they get those licenses, yeah. Yeah, so that's part of the FLL. It's the Type 7. You can't have felons on staff, stuff like that. But I don't think they missed that. Oh, the fun of testing their equipment, right? They're going to go out back in the shop, plink, plink, plink. No, I think the thing you missed is if you're going to be selling intact firearms, you're going to need a design, right? And so there's going to be a whole bunch of engineering. So you can design your own firearm. I get it. I believe sitting around the table is the skill to do it, but you're going to need a design. You're going to need a product, right? So the joy of making parts for other people is at least you don't have to do the engineering part of it. So the other way to get that design is to license it from somebody else, right? So you've seen the old timey movies with the machine guns with the big barrel on the front. There's like the round thing and like the gangsters shooting each other in the streets. So that's called a Tommy gun. Do you guys know that they're manufactured in Worcester? They are manufactured in Worcester, and there's a company in Worcester that has the license to manufacture those Tommy guns and sell them, and they sell them to police forces around the world still today. But yeah, so I do think you missed. So I love your idea. If you're going to build the whole firearm, you're going to have a firearm to build. So you're going to either have to figure out what would it take to license somebody else's design and make them. You could also make them for somebody else and do that work. But I think that's a miss. Anything else that they should talk about? Okay. Who's next? Group 2, do you want to go? Four slides, group 2. Somebody catch. Close enough.
All right, I can read the first two.
All right, group 2.
All right, so this is our update for cost and supplies. The products we're thinking about manufacturing are car engine parts. Oh, next slide, please. So again, the products are car engine parts such as camshafts, valves, pistons, and push rods.
And then just as a general list of supplies and costs, we were looking at newer machines just to avoid any hassle of, you get one used and then it craps out on you within a couple months. So we were looking at 2 of the longer Haas lathes just for the camshafts because those will be a longer part. That came out to about $159,000 starting value, and then 2 mini mills for the smaller pieces like the valves, push rods, and pistons. 3 80-gallon air compressors, just and again, we figured around $10,000 for tooling. And looking online, it was about anywhere from $16.50 to $19.50 per 55 gallons of coolant, depending on whether it was semi-synthetic or fully synthetic. And then I think you did next slide, or you did materials.
So these are the general costs for materials per kilogram. Most of them were from China and India. So for cast iron, it's roughly $1.26 to $1.38. Billet steel, $2.20 to $2.98. Nickel was surprisingly expensive at $26.81 per kilogram. Aluminum alloy was very variable. I've found $5.87 per kilogram. I believe there was one that was above $100 per kilogram. 1018 steel tubing was also pretty variable, but not as variable as aluminum, at $1.30 to $3 per kilogram.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
All right. So what did they miss? Where are you guys located again? I forget.
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. And you're going to go to like Ford and GM and Toyota and say, hey, we want to make your parts and we're capable of making your parts, stuff like that. Okay. One thing I would like you to touch on next time we get back together is the process of machining that camshaft and sort of what the setup looks like. Because I think most people in the class probably haven't seen one of those machines. So maybe if you find like a video of somebody machining camshafts, stuff like that, so that we can all get a good look at how that goes together. And so to work with the big OEMs making parts like that, you're going to have to be ISO certified and all that stuff. I think Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, may also have some standards that apply. And so look into that and find out if you need any special licensing or standards. It's not really standard or standards. It's more certification that you comply with the standard. So look into any special stuff you need to be making parts at that level for the OEMs. Anything else? Which group wants to go next? What number? 11. Group 11. I'll hit refresh then. Group 11. At least you have fancy pictures on your slides.
Yeah. So, let me wait for the mic. Cool. So we're Group 11 performance parts. It's our manufacturing startup cost presentation. Next slide. So last time we didn't have a building. We just had an office building. We kind of messed up. So we found a new building and now we can put machines in there. So that's going to cost about $1.07 million for a 4,500 square foot warehouse with about $100,000 estimated cost of improvements, and then plus some taxes and some employee salaries. Next slide. The required permits and license we need are, first we need a vehicle manufacturer license, about 151 a month, I think, and 85 renewal per year. That's the first cost, and that's 85 renewal per year. And then just some other additional fees. All this kind of licenses are going to cost like less than $500, so that's not super expensive. Next slide. The main cost is our machines. We have a 5-axis mill, which is going to cost about $160,000, and 2 lathes with stands, and they come with all the tooling and fixturing stuff. We found that on the website, which are going to cost about $10,000 each. So we decided to start small so we could build up slowly, because we don't have a lot of capital to start off with because we're not rich. Next slide. And then just some materials. We're going to get some steel fasteners and about 5 tons of some billet aluminum to make the parts out of. And that's going to cost about under $10,000. Next slide. And then our overall estimated upfront cost right now is about $185,000 plus the $1.3 million with the property. And the monthly cost is about $650, and they can be adjusted to decrease the cost if we try to find a smaller place. That's it.
All right. What do you think they missed? Anything? So I wouldn't buy 5 tons of material up front.
That's probably
I
smart.
would buy the bit of material I need when I need it. And, with some forecasting. And there have been, especially very recently, there's been some supply chain issues with getting stock material and stuff in for small manufacturing businesses. And most of the ones I've visited in the last couple years, they do have kind of a big stockpile of the material that they normally use. But it's because they know they have jobs coming in to use that material also. So I applaud you finding out how much you think it'll cost, though. That's good. So the idea would be to only get the material, have it arrive just before you need to use it, so you don't have to store it anywhere also, right? Because you were talking about saving some money by reducing your physical footprint. With more stock material you have to keep on hand, the bigger the physical footprint needs to be. Where are you locating? Oh, never mind. You just leave it outside. Doesn't rain there. So I've been to the Haas factory, which is in Oxnard, California. And so they have 1 million square feet of under roof manufacturing facility. So 1 million square feet filled up with machine tools and robots and stuff that make the machines that we use. They have a few acres behind that of where they store the parts that they're getting ready to work on. So the castings and things for the machine tools, and the finished machines, they just leave them outside because it's Southern California. It doesn't rain. They wrap them with plastic and stuff for the days that it does rain. Okay, who's next? Which number? 5. I can see it on my screen. It just hasn't showed up over here yet. Give me a second. All right, see if it works again. Hey, it worked. Bang my head in the wall. The
Oh wait,
screen
that
comes
one's
up.
not supposed to be there.
That's supposed to be hidden.
But
What's that?
That's supposed to be hidden. That slide.
that was just for us.
Oh,
So you can ignore that.
everybody close your eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is this one good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Alrighty. Alrighty. So our first slide here is kind of outlining what machining we will be using mainly. As you know, from our previous slides from last time, we are making 3D printed parts in machining essentially. So some of the parts that we'll need to do require milling if we're going to replace those 3D printed parts with aluminum parts per se. And for that, we have selected 2 3-axis mills, which on average for a used price, we can get for $64,000 roughly. And that kind of totals out to $129,000. And then also for some of the parts that we will need to machine, we will require a CNC lathe. So we have selected the Haas TL2, and that will, for use, be an estimated cost of $39,000, and we'll only be needing one of those because only the hot end of a 3D printer actually needs to be used with a lathe. All right, next slide.
And then for the support equipment, we will need an air compressor. We found a used high capacity air compressor for $30,000 approximately. And then general machining for like the mill guys, it's $3,000. For like fixturing, so stuff to hold the mill bits, is another $1,000, and then vices are pretty expensive at probably $2,000 for all the machines. Next slide.
Now for like office materials, after seeing other people's, I figured we could probably go back on Facebook Marketplace and save some money, but we figured we might need 3 desks, which would come out to about like $1,800. And then along with all miscellaneous office supplies like pens, paper, toilet paper, paper towels, shredders, organizers, all of that good stuff, told to be about $1,118 and $4. Next slide, sorry. Shipping.
So for shipping, there are 3 but we're gonna ship with shipping companies. Our parts are not really big, and we don't manufacture that many parts. So ground shipping, air shipping, if it's time sensitive, and if we have a big batch, truckload shipping, which is essentially like from $10 to $1,000.
So our building is in Louisiana, Minden, to be more specific. The building cost is around $260,000. Sales tax in Louisiana is about 4.45%, property tax being 15%. However, we might be able to find an exemption program that we were looking at. We would need to apply for a license and permit for creating the products and an LLC, and notice the effects on the environment and our sales. There are no other licensing or permits required for the parts we will be making.
Perfect. What did they miss? So for any of the groups that missed tooling and stuff like that, just consider that you missed tooling, and you should add that in later. What your product, you're taking previously 3D printed stuff and machining it instead? Is that the thing, or okay? It's so just job shop machining, but targeting that market. Yeah. Okay. Anything? Yeah.
What mill are you paying us $3,000? And also, why do your desks cost
No, the total cost they're estimating to get started of buying tooling and mills. So if they're $30 each, that's like
We assume we'll break it to you on the
right. So that's just to have spares in stock. I got that. And it was 3,000, not 30. You said 30,000, but the number was 3,000. Yeah. All right. Who still has to go? 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So we're not going to fit all 4 groups in. Who wants to go at the beginning of class tomorrow? You guys? All right. So you're up for today then.
So we're group 13 and I'm submitted for group 13, but group 13 isn't there.
I think I can find it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing.
Okay, you can do the machines, so I can do it. Oh, we forgot this. Really ignore.
I kind of want to ask them to put it in a different order to bring up the first slide and then the third slide.
Maybe I
and
can't
the
find it.
second, so that we can explain why we chose these.
We'll do yours tomorrow morning.
Okay.
That'll make it easier, and just email it to me.
Oh, email too? Okay.
Yeah. Who else can go then? Who can go right now? What group is it? Group 3.
I feel like that must be a terrible noise. Somebody catches it into the mic.
All right, go group 3.
Okay. So the first 3 slides are basically what we presented 3 weeks ago. I don't think we've changed them at all, just our location, our roles. But we have added the equipment here. So we found lathes anywhere between 50 and 60 grand for just like nice ones of what we were looking for. Mill about 50 grand as well. Drill press for $1,000. Belt sander we found one on like Craigslist. Yeah, one on Craigslist for that much. Laser cutter, air compressor. We have tooling, calipers and micrometers because we figured being able to inspect your parts is pretty important. And we have this wide variety of equipment because, as we talked about last time, we're doing consumer industry. So basically, anybody that has a CAD model, an idea, they send their stuff to us, and we'll make it. So we need to have a wide variety of equipment to be able to do that. We did not include material, but that's actually because it really depends on what we need to be making. So the consumer could send us some completely random part and we'd have to just order the stock. It might be good to have some in-house, but considering it varies just by the consumer, it wouldn't make too much sense to have a boatload of one type. So that's it for the equipment that we have.
Perfect. So what did they miss? So this was the group that talked about your business type, right? You said you're going to form an LLC? Yeah. So that is one thing that everybody's going to need to do to actually create a business is you'll have to create a legal entity so that you have some corporate entity that's running the business. That's not really the point of this exercise, but it was a good catch for this group. So you do need to have some formal structure for the business. You guys had a good catch on not buying any furniture. I liked that. Yeah.
I was going to ask about the need a drill press if they have a mill.
Why do you need a drill press if you have a mill?
Depends on the type of part that you need to make. Sometimes you can't always use the mill to something. I mean, Washburn has a drill press, but they have something else.
I think the answer is so you can still drill a hole when the mill's busy making money. I think that's a good answer. Yeah. Yeah. So the overlap of abilities is good.
What are you looking for in next week's presentation?
So what are we looking for in next week's? Do we have a presentation on the schedule for next week?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm not certain that next week has a presentation. Yeah, let's look at that. So if we go up here to the schedule, group review. Yeah, so next week we don't have a presentation. So I thought the presentations were every other week. Hey, Paul, can I call you back in 5 minutes? Thanks. So we will dedicate the first 15 minutes of tomorrow's lecture to doing the last couple presentations and discussing the final product. Okay? And so that'll include what we're going to do in that last presentation. Yep. Only one group member submits it. Yeah. And the purpose for that particular assignment is just so we can gather them together on one computer. There's no grading of your submitted slides or something like that. Okay. All right. So tomorrow morning we'll be in Olin. We'll do, which groups have to go? What number? 6, 1, and 13. Okay. So we'll quickly do 6, 1, and 13, and then we'll go through, and 7. Okay. We'll quickly do you guys, and then we'll go through the final assignment, the final deliverable. And we'll debate whether or not we're going to do presentations for that final deliverable or not. I like the presentation format because then when you're done with the presentation, you're done with the project. But we can vote on that tomorrow. Okay. So thanks everybody very much.